tiny but important detail. So he graduated from Penn in 2022, and one of my roommates, my girl roommate, she's my year, also graduated from Penn in 2024. So obviously when I started seeing this guy, like, the first thing I did was ask him. I was just like, oh, by the way, like, one of my roommates went to Penn, like, maybe you know her. Said her name, he was like, never heard of her before. So I was like, okay, didn't even bother to ask my roommate until I was like, oh, maybe, like, she might know him. So I brought it up with her. I was like, oh, like, you know, the guy I'm seeing, like, funny story, like, he actually went to your college. She was like, why did you not share this before? Show me his Instagram. Showed her the Instagram, and turns out she did know him. She was like, oh my gosh, like, him and I met at a party, like, he probably just doesn't remember me, but, like, he apparently, like, dated a girl. So she was in a business frat, my roommate. He dated a girl in her business frat, and the tea there is that, like, that girl apparently was, like, seeing another guy in that business frat, and the guy that was currently seeing stole her away, and then they started dating. So that was, like, the whole tea, the lore, and my roommate basically was like, oh, like, he was, like, kind of mean, kind of rude to me, but, like, he probably was just, like, drunk. I don't know that much about him. And the additional detail that I did learn was, like, so my roommate also has this best friend from Penn that was also in her frat, this guy, who also lives in New York currently, my year. And then I just, like, saw that, like, he also followed this guy. So obviously I brought it up with the guy. I was just like, oh, like, you said you don't know my roommate, but maybe you know her friend. I see that you follow him on Instagram. And he was like, oh my gosh, yeah, like, I live with his brother. So it was crazy. We were like, small world, ha ha ha. Like, I thought it was very ha ha. Did not think it was a big deal at all. I was just kind of like, whoa, weird that we're, like, connected in multiple ways, even though we met from Hinge. But anyways, okay, so this all happens, like, pre-Friday. Now it's Friday. We're not texting as much as usual, but, like, I knew he had a lot of work, so I wasn't super bothered by it. And I was in this, like, weird crisis because, like, I technically was still, like, sleeping and seeing other guys, and, like, I discussed it with him very lightly. He was like, obviously, like, we're not exclusive yet, so not a big deal, but, like, just, like, don't tell me, and it's your decision whether you continue that. And I was talking with my roommates about it, and they all, like, convinced me to, like, mentally, like, not seek or, like, see any other guys in the present. They were like, you obviously really like this guy, you've seen him, like, every day this week, like, you, like, why see other guys? Like, what's the point? Like, why don't you just, like, see it out fully with him, and if it doesn't work out, go ahead and move on. So I was still kind of making up my mind about that, but in the end, like, by Friday, I was kind of like, okay, like, you know, I really want to see this out. Like, that's kind of emotionally where I was at this point. Saturday rolls around. He has not followed up about the date, whether it's on, whether it's not. I'm kind of anxious about it because I'm like, is it still happening? I just, like, had my own plans on that day, and the last thing I was going to do that day was, like, grab dinner and drinks with my friend, and my plan was, like, okay, like, if the date is on, then I'll just, like, leave the dinner and drinks, like, at a normal time, and we go mini golfing, and if not, like, I could just hang out with my friend and drink tonight. So I was doing, like, paint and pour with another friend in the afternoon, like, maybe 4 p.m., and then he texted me bailing. He was just like, hey, I feel really bad, but I have so much work, I can't meet you for mini golf, I'm gonna have to cancel on you. So I respond, like, in a super chill way. I basically was just like, thank you for letting me know, hope you finished your work, let me know if you want to reschedule something. He just, like, likes the message. I go on to plans with my next friend, dinner and drinks. So I'm telling her about this whole situation. Obviously, I'm expressing a lot of my worries about it. Like, not that anything, like, particularly bad had happened between us yet, but, like, obviously I have a lot of guy trauma from the past, and, like, him bailing at the last minute, even though, like, it's because of work or whatever, obviously, like, doesn't sit well with me, especially because I did ask him very early on. I was like, do you think you have the time for this? And he reassured me that, like, he did and that he really wanted it. So the fact that, like, within the first week he already, like, bailed on, like, a set date we had, like, I don't know, like, it just, like, wasn't good. And the fact that he, like, didn't even, like, really apologize for it, or he didn't really, like, try to, like, reschedule, like, even, like, tentatively, like, oh, I'm not sure of my availability, but, like, would you want to do something, like, X day of the week, like, give me even, like, a range. I don't know, like, all of that, it just felt like he was bailing with no plan, and it was so early on, like, it just didn't feel great. So eventually, like, we're still drinking at the restaurant. She convinces me to text him, basically just kind of expressing that I was a little, like, upset that I didn't get to see him that night. He replies immediately. He was like, yeah, like, I feel really bad about bailing, like, I really wanted to see you. That's it. Again, not much. I'm still kind of frustrated about the situation, don't know how to feel about it. Eventually, like, I leave the restaurant around, like, 10 p.m. or so. I'm on the subway back, I'm pretty drunk. I end up sending another text. I'm just like, I just want to ask you again, like, do you genuinely think you have the time for this? Do you genuinely think you have the time for me? And that's when he sends this text, like this long stream of text, basically saying like, actually, now that I've thought about it, like, I realized this weekend that, like, my work is, like, not conducive to me, like, meeting someone new and starting something serious, and it's such a shame because we had such a great connection, but, like, unfortunately, I think, like, I need to let you go. So I'm, like, on the subway back, drunk, alone, getting this text all of a sudden. So I remember just being, like, so dumbfounded. I start crying on the subway because, like, I just didn't know how to react. So then I just kind of, like, text back, like, are you ending things with me? Like, can we even talk about this? Like, what? He just, like, kind of reiterates the same thing, like, a couple times, and then eventually he's like, yeah, like, you know what? Like, we can talk about it, like, if you want. Like, do you want to, like, call about it, like, in a day or two when I'm done with my work? So I'm, like, still texting him, basically just, like, really emotional and confused. It just, like, felt super abrupt. Like, I'd literally seen him the day before. Like, he left my house after a sleepover, and the next day he was, like, telling me he needed to let me go because of work. Like, I was just, like, what the bro? Like, this is so sudden. I was, again, drunk, emotional, alone. I end up, like, stupidly, like, messaging this guy that, like, I, like, matched with on Hinge a while ago, and, like, I would hit up from time to time to, like, meet up, but obviously, like, I was, like, not taking dating that seriously, when I started doing it again back in April, May, so I kind of would just, like, go on dates with whoever would, like, ask me first at the right time, like, nothing against him particularly, like, that's just kind of what my mindset was at the time, so, unfortunately, I guess I kept bailing on him at the last minute, or, like, rescheduling plans with him without even knowing that I was doing this particularly to this guy. I will tell that story fully in another story time. But anyways, the TLDR is I actually ended up meeting another guy that night. Like, I was so upset. I just, like, wanted to be with someone because I thought I was going to be with someone. So I go home and I invite him to my place. And him and I just, like, talk. And we end up making out. There's a whole story there. I'm not going to get into it here. Another story time. But through that experience, I basically realized, like, oh, like, I really like this other guy. Because, like, I feel like with other guys I'd seen at earlier points in the year, or just at other times in my life, like, usually, even if I say, like, I like one guy and I kind of meet another guy to, like, get over them, not that that's a good thing. It's not a healthy habit that I have. Usually I'm able to, like, fully, like, go all the way with them, like, act like the other guy doesn't exist for the time I'm with the other guy. And honestly, usually I'll end up also liking the other guy from my past experiences. But this was, like, the first time that, like, I literally had, like, another guy in my bed that, like, was fully ready to, like, cuddle me, make out with me, do all the things a pretend couple does. And I just, like, could not even look at him. I was just so, like, in my head about this other guy that, like, I remember, like, he tried making out with me, and, like, we were making out, but, like, I literally, like, physically was like, I can't do this. Like, I turned away my head. I, like, was removing his hands. Like, I'd never done that before. Obviously, all of this is emotionally hitting me. I'm like, oh, shit. Like, I really, really must like this other guy, and that's just why this is kind of hurting now. It just was, like, such an overwhelming 2 weeks where we were, like, in contact so much and had met so much, and to end so abruptly, it just felt so weird, and I just, like, didn't know how to comprehend it. Okay, I'm gonna make a final part or two after this. I thought there was only gonna be one more part, but funny story, he actually ended up recontacting me, and we're talking again, and maybe it's stupid. It's still an ongoing story, though. We'll see what happens with that. So we'll see if this gets developed into 1 or 2 more parts. Okay, so, like, the next day, him and I end up FaceTiming. I had this, like, whole script prepared, but he, like, just jumped right into it, didn't even let me talk. He basically was like, I'm just gonna get straight to the point. Like I said on text, I just think my job right now, like, I thought it would be better than my last job, but, like, it's actually just worse. It's, like, banking 2.0, and I just realized recently that it's just not conducive to me, like, meeting a new person and starting something serious. Like, I thought I could do it, but this weekend I was just blown up, and I had to cancel on you, and I felt so bad. And he was like, I see it just, like, being like this for the entire year, and, like, I need to quit my job, but I definitely can't get out of it. Like, I told you about my signing bonus. I'm locked in for a year, and I feel like the best I would be able to do is, like, maybe see you on the weekends, and I don't want to, like, spend all this time with you and, like, catch feelings for you and then barely be able to see that it's not fair to me, and it's not fair to you, and you deserve so much better. He was also saying that, like, he also just found out that he had this family emergency and he had to fly back home for it, and, like, all of this, like, life stuff, like, his personal life and his work life is all just, like, completely overwhelming him, and that would all just cause him to be like a bad partner, and like I deserve someone who could like really be there for me, someone who was better than him. And he just like thought it was so unfortunate because like he made all these promises and like we had this connection, and he had to bail on me so fast. And he kept like reassuring me like it's nothing you did, like literally there's nothing you could have done to like make the situation like different, like this is just like a me thing, like, and you know, like if you're single in the future, like I would love to reach out, but like you can't wait for me, but like I definitely would be open to starting something again in the future if things get better, like I won't forget you. So he just kind of like talks at me for like a couple minutes, and I just didn't really know what to say, because he was basically just like telling me that it was over. I did say like, is there anything I can say or do right now to change your mind? And he would basically was like, no, not really, I don't think so. And then I just kind of proceeded to tell him just more like my feelings on the situation. Then I basically said like I just felt the connection was great too. It did happen really fast, and I was a little overwhelmed, but I had a lot of hope in it, and that's why I'm really hurt right now that you're ending it in what feels like an abrupt way. Like I felt like I literally saw you yesterday, and then the next day you're telling me you need to let me go. Like I felt like I got whiplash, and that really sucks. And he just kept like apologizing for it, but like I was like, well, like that doesn't make me feel any better. He was just telling me like it was all in him problem, that he literally like cried for an hour in his room the day before, and I said something about like I think I'm gonna cry right now, and he was like, oh, if you start crying, like I'm gonna start crying on this FaceTime. And I was just like, oh my god, like I just felt like so, like I didn't know what to say, but I was like super overwhelmed at the same time, and it was just like really sad. Like it just like felt like I was saying goodbye, like that's kind of what was going on. So yeah, like we called for maybe like 30 minutes, conversation ended, we texted a little bit, like last goodbyes afterwards, and then we didn't talk for over 2 months. He still followed me on Instagram and I still followed him, but like zero communication happened between us between September and like mid-November. So getting to the point of the video, this situation just caused me to delete Hinge completely, because I basically felt like I did everything I possibly could have done to like make it work. Like I told him from the start, like I was looking for something long-term, I was looking for a relationship, and I would only go out with him if he was serious about that. I was super upfront with like my thoughts and views on dating and where I was at with like my experiences with past guys, and I thought I found this guy that I really liked, and I was willing to go all in, like stop seeing other people, stop like roster dating and like hooking up, and like really see it out with him for whatever it was. And I still basically got burned. So given all of this, I basically was like, there's no way I can find my boyfriend, my man on Hinge. Like if I can be so upfront at the start and also just like go about it the right way, like do both those things, and it's still not work in my favor, like it's like, you know that phrase, it's kind of like insanity is like if you do the same thing multiple times and expect a different outcome. Like that's how I felt I was going about Hinge. Like I was like, yeah, I was changing kind of how I was going about it with each guy. Like, you know, at first I used to just go all in on one guy, and then I decided to like roster date a little bit, and then I decided to be upfront with my intentions and then stop roster. Like I was changing like how I was dating, from guy to guy, sure, but at the end of the day, it all came down to I was just meeting these guys off an app. I was meeting these complete strangers online. So I was like, this is insane. Like I'm doing the same thing expecting a different result, but the same thing essentially keeps happening, even though like, yeah, it's a little bit different with how it ends. Like the general consensus is I'm not even getting to any sort of commitment stage. Like I'm not even getting a boyfriend to break up with. It's just like this dating situation that just ends for whatever reason, and I feel super hurt and super like lost on it, because it's like I'm mourning someone I was never truly with and didn't truly know. So yeah, as I said, all this caused me to delete Hinge. I think I did it like 3 or 4 days like after that call. And since then I was really committed to like meeting guys in the wild, which I've been doing since then, and that's a whole other topic that I can get into in another video. But in terms of the current stage with him, so something has been happening recently, and I do need to give the update on that. You know what, I'm gonna make a separate video about it, because I'm tired right now and I want to eat, but it's also an ongoing situation. It is still evolving, and it's kind of insane. It drove me insane today. Basically, hint, hint, 2 things happen. One is he reached back out to me 2 weeks ago, and we've been talking since then. And 2 is on my last TikTok, 2 girls actually were like, oh my gosh, I know who this guy is. And they both DM'd me, and they both definitely know who he is. And both of them were like, if you're talking to him again, you should stop. And I'm like, oh God, like, I don't know what I'm doing. But yeah, we'll explain that all in the final part, I promise. Okay, so now getting to, like, the current state of me and this guy. So we go into contact after this FaceTime. All of September, all of October passes. Most of November passes, around half of it passes. And then in this random weekend, it's like 5 a.m. on Saturday, I get a text from him, well, a DM from him. He replies to my story. He was like, I think you're gorgeous. If you're single, let me take you out. And I was shook. So I didn't actually see it at 5 a.m. because obviously I was asleep. But I got up around 8 a.m. to use the bathroom, and I saw that he sent it like 3 hours before, so 5 a.m. And I was like, oh my gosh, like, this is definitely a drunk text. But I was super shocked because I hadn't heard from him in so long. And I really wanted to reply, but I was like, okay, like, let me think about it more. Let me go back to sleep. And when I wake up, like, I'll decide what I want to do. So I took a screenshot, obviously, for receipts before going to sleep because I just, like, could not believe my eyes. I wake up, like, literally only 2 hours later, and he had unsent the DM. So obviously I'm, like, freaking out. Like, it was already weird that he sent it, and then now he unsent it. I was so confused. I talked to my roommates about it. They're all like, you shouldn't say anything to him. Like, he obviously, like, didn't actually want to say something if he unsent it, but, like, you obviously want to, so, like, let's just, like, strategize together. So I end up sending him, like, a DM basically being like, the 5 a.m. send and unsend is crazy. And he replies, like, immediately, like, lightning speed. He's just like, I'm so sorry, I was, like, super drunk, shouldn't have sent that, like, the drunk and horny combo is terrible. And I just, like, kind of, like, pry a little bit. I was like, well, I hope you found someone to, like, satisfy your needs. And he was like, no, I've been, like, celibate for 2 months. I've been celibate since you. I've been, like, focusing on myself, blah, 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 blah. And I was just, like, being nice. I was like, well, I'm really happy for you. Like, hope things have been going well. And yeah, like, I was just, like, nice about it. Eventually, the conversation just turns kind of suggestive. Like, I don't know how else to phrase it but that. Like, it was obvious, like, he wanted to hook up again. But obviously, like, I think he knew it was a bad idea. And then eventually he kind of just, like, opened the door. He kind of, like, said the idea, like, more straight up. But then he kind of, like, took it back immediately. He was like, no, like, maybe I should wait until I'm in a better mental place. Like, maybe I should wait until I'm, like, in a good spot. Like, I'm still not really okay, blah, blah, blah. And then I was also being dumb. I was like, well, I'm honestly, like, not taking this that seriously. Like, we haven't talked in a while. And then he was just like, well, yeah, so it's fine. And then he was like, so are you free this afternoon? Are you free tonight? Are you free tomorrow? Obviously, I already had plans on that day. So I was like, well, I'm not free in the afternoon. I already have plans. But, like, I'm free tonight or I'm free tomorrow. And he was like, great. Like, can't wait to, like, you know, see each other. Can't wait to see each other again. Like, do all the things that we used to do. Again, just being, like, very sexually suggestive in this conversation. So I was basically like, okay, we're just, like, gonna hook up again. Like, it's not that serious, right? But I was at least expecting to do that, right? So we're, like, texting all throughout that Sunday, like, nonstop. Like, sometimes I don't even, like, reply immediately, and he'll just, like, double text. Like, he was, like, on. And I was just like, obviously, like, I still kind of like him. So I was, like, really enjoying it, like, talking to him again. And then the night comes, so I knew he was going out with his friends, so I'm just, like, kind of waiting. Not, like, waiting, like, I just didn't have plans that night. But then, like, 11 p.m. rolls around, and he was like, sorry, I'm, like, so gassed, I'm so tired, like, I don't think I can meet tonight. And I was like, that's all cool, like, are we still good for tomorrow? And he was like, yeah, like, I'll definitely let you know. The next day rolls around, he does not text me. I follow up, I'm like, so are we still meeting? And then he was just like, I'm so sorry, I got, like, swamped with work, huge meeting. And I was like, well, let me know. And he's like, yeah, I'll definitely let you know. Never even opens my message. And I was like, oh my God, like, I felt so upset. I was like, how did I let this man into my life again, only for him to bail again? And, like, not even for a date, literally for a hookup. Like, the stakes were so low, and he still failed. I was like, oh my God, I was upset. So that happened, like, maybe now almost 3 weeks ago, but 2 weeks ago at the time when the next thing happened. So basically, like, around 2 weeks passed, like, him and I don't talk. Again, he's still, like, viewing my stories. He still follows me on Instagram. So I went out last weekend. So last Saturday, I got, like, super drunk, and I just, like, really wanted to text people. So I texted him being like, hey, like, are you out tonight? He again replies immediately, and he was just like, I'm not in New York. If I was there, for sure, I would meet you. I'm actually in San Francisco. So I was like, you don't need to lie to me. And he was like, no, like, I'm not lying to you, and, like, sends a screenshot of his location. And I was like, oh, okay, like, I believe you. And then we kind of just, like, again, we're talking. It's very suggestive, like, as usual, as it was 2 weeks before. And he was just like, you know, when I come back, like, I'll, like, blah blah blah. And then I brought up like him like not replying to me 2 weeks ago, and he was like, it's a long complicated story, like I'll tell you like when we're like blah blah blah. And I was like, okay dude, like you'll let me know. And then the conversation turns a lot more emotional, like somehow. I don't know like what the transition was, but then at one point he just goes like, can I be honest with you? And I was like, yeah, I guess you can. So at this point it's like pretty late New York time. It's like maybe 4 a.m. So here he just spills like everything to me. He was like, so you know, like the week we met, like I actually almost got back with my ex, and you also told me that you had a connection to me. So the connections I had to him, there were like 2. It was like, and they're connected. It's like my roommate, her best friend is like the brother of his roommate. That's one connection. The second is my roommate was in a frat in college, and his ex was in that frat, right? So that ex happened to move to New York, and they almost happened to get together literally the week that him and I were like talking and starting to get to know each other. So now I realized, like, so I actually had told him that like when we were seeing each other. I was like, oh my god, like crazy thing, my roommate said she knows you through this. And like I thought it was just funny, haha, because I thought there was like no baggage there, or like it'd been a long time. But I remember he acted a little weird about it, and now I'm like, oh my god, that makes so much sense, because that was not like an old person, like it was, but they were actually trying to rekindle things. So when I brought up like kind of having a connection to this girl through my roommate, he must have been like triggered or something. And then he proceeds to tell me like exactly what the family emergency he mentioned before was. Like, I'm not even gonna share that on here out of respect for him, but he tells me like exactly what happened with that. And he said like both those things happening like right when he moved to New York, and coming out of like his life beforehand, like the ex situationship who cheated on him, and like he didn't really like the city he was in beforehand. Like it was all just like too much for him, and he needed to like focus on himself because his mental health was really bad. And then like 2.5 months passed or whatever, and he was starting to feel better, and like that's when he texted me. And the night that we were supposed to meet, or like the day we were supposed to meet, apparently like his friend told him that he started like ex, like the one that he almost tried to get back with, like when him and I were seeing each other, and like that sent him into a spiral again. And he like went to the gym 14 days straight and was just like focusing on his like physical and mental well-being. Like he was just super locked in, like didn't want to like mess around with anything. And then like now he was like back home, like doing stuff for the family emergency, yada yada yada. And he was just like emotionally dumping a lot on me, and he kept like acknowledging it too. He was just like, I'm so sorry, I'm like trauma dumping on you, I'm emotionally dumping on you right now, like I have no idea why I'm doing this, like you can tell me to stop at any time. And I just like tell him, I was like, dude, like look, like I still care about you, and I'm just here to listen to you, like I'm never gonna tell you to shut up. And that's when he proceeds to like ask me out again. He was just like, how would you feel about like trying things out again, like properly dating, like no sex, not even like drinks, because like alcohol messes with the mental states. Like how about like we like actually like talk and like get coffee and go on walks and like, you know, like explore the city together and like, you know, actually get to know each other this time around and like see how things go. So obviously I was like, I'm down, dude, but I'm like really skeptical about you even promising this date, considering you've bailed on me twice. Like you bailed on me back in September that day, and like I know you made me aware of that one, so that's not as bad, but then you just like kind of ghosted me 2 weeks ago after you reached out. And he's being all like, I know, like I don't deserve it, like, but like I pinky promise I won't bail on you, like really trying to convince me to meet up with him ASAP. He was talking about like maybe flying back from home earlier. He was just like, are you free Saturday? Like I can fly back a day early so we can meet. And I was telling him like I had plans with my own friends, and like my brother is here, and he was just like, tell them it's important, like meet me, blah 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 blah. And I stood my ground. I was like, no, like if you want to see me, like we can see each other next week. And he was like, okay, like I'll know better of my work schedule, like when Monday rolls around, like I'll let you know, like we have the whole month of December, like no rush. And then the last thing that happens is, as I said before in my old TikToks, 2 girls that knew him actually reached out to me and like were like, oh my gosh, like you should probably not proceed if you want to talk to him again. So like one girl knew him from college and was just like, he has a reputation of treating girls horribly, like he does stuff that is so bad to women, and I know so many people that have cut him off because of it. And another girl had like met him from Hinge in another city and was like, look, like he was nice to me, but he definitely like is a love bomber, he definitely like doesn't know what he wants, he's super into his work. And because I told her like, oh, this other girl mentioned him to me and said he was really bad, and he was like, honestly, if somebody else is saying bad things about him, like you should probably believe it, like it's probably right, and he's not good news, or like he's definitely not in a good place to be your boyfriend or a good guy to you right now. So yeah, that's the whole story, and I don't know what's going on right now. Him and I are still texting, but he has not texted me back in 2 days, so I don't know if we actually are texting, but technically I did message him 2 days ago. So we'll see what happens, and I'll update if there's anything else.
Let me know some of the things you're picking up from this story. Let me know down in the comment section. But as always, please, guys, you know how we do it here. Keep it respectful. You're on this channel, we're allowed to disagree, but we do it in a respectful way. Um, I could clearly see this young lady. She's a young lady. She's experiencing life, but there are just a lot of things that were just red flags, and some things that I just feel like grown women that have been on a dating scene for a long time would not. And some of the things I picked up, one is the fact that you are saying so much. We've had this conversation here when we talk about how if you're on a date with a guy, just listen, hear them, listen to them. The fact that this guy can switch up his what he wants, there's all manipulation. And you, one thing, see, young ladies come, young ladies in the house that stay in the dating pool trying to date and all that. What is the, you guys let me know, because sometimes I'm like, oh, we just want to be honest, just want to be honest. I get it. But what does it do when you tell, like, she telling him that, oh, I'm in a situationship with other people? What, he's not even your boyfriend yet. So what does that conversation do? Like, I just feel like this young lady, she's in that era where she wants validation. She's going by the Hollywood book by book play of a romantic relationship. And I feel like Hollywood too has kind of really like fed a lot of young people, including myself as a young girl, with a lot of idea of what relationship is and what it really is. It's really like, and this young man is just playing the textbook of the Hollywood, what romance is. Down the corner, turn around, kiss. And because he knows those are the things that will get her. And one thing is that we've established that most men, some men, they look at you and like, you know what, I can play this one, and that based on the way you talk, they pick up your vibes, they pick up your energy, and that's one thing as ladies you need to be able to pick up their own vibe, their own energy for you to get it. And you could clearly see that she wanted a relationship badly, she wanted a man badly, and that's what you get when you wanted it badly, a relationship badly, and you let go a lot of things will just fly. Like you could tell from, and she's young, don't get me wrong, we've all done stupid shit like this when we're young. So eventually I feel like eventually she's going to pick up some things, but you could clearly see that she was dropping down a standard just to make it convenient so that she can have access to men. And that's where she needs that. As much as she's coming across like not needing a male validation, deep down she needs it. And I feel like this is where the work needs to be done. Know yourself. But first she shouldn't have even lower a standard. She knows what she wants. She wants something serious. Which, because you say you want something serious, that does not mean you're going to get something serious on this app, because they'll probably just lie to you and say, oh, they want something serious, and play the game with you. Two, you when the texting was being too much, painting the picture that was not, you guys have not even seen, but they were painting picture. Girl, except maybe it's just something casual for you. Bye. Don't do it. Love bombing, run away. Um, him coming over to your house. Why are we not learning? Why are we not learning? On a first date, what is it coming to do in yours? Why does he even know the roads to your house on the first date? So I don't even understand why people are doing this. But I could just see all the red flags and how this young woman has not grown into herself. She still needs the male validation and wants to be in a relationship so bad that she would do anything. The fact that I said no shade to anybody doing a hookup. I know that's the what's the word? Why does this thing keep? What the fuck? Why is this thing not focusing? Good. So, come to think about, oh, that's the times we live in, the hookup times where people just hook up with each other. But if you give yourself, she's young obviously, if you give yourself if you know yourself, and and I know it comes with age, it comes with a lot of unlearning, because whether you like it or not, it's, I always say this here on this channel, it has been embedded in us as women to always seek the validation of men, to always want to be with a man, to always want to be in a relationship. And this has put that scarcity mindset also for young women and even women in generally, and also that need that we are in chase of a romantic relationship, that we're ready to put up with all sorts, like downplay a lot of red flag, a lot of things that does not serve us. And if you know, on this channel, one thing that we are big on is the fact that we are very intentional with our life and do things that serves us. And if something does not serve you as a person, don't do it. It's not worth it. It's not worth it. But clearly you can see this young woman, she needs that validation so bad that she's ready to put up with anything this guy brings. The fact that this guy has showed you his true color, and this is something we also talk about here a lot. When people show you who they are, take them for who they are and stop making excuses for them. The fact that she's still giggling, laughing, and like, oh, we can talk, we can talk, we can talk, oh, we are talking again, and all that, you can clearly see. And the truth is that men like this, when they know that they can walk you this way and toss you around, they are going to do it. And the general saying I usually say, people treat you the way you allow them to treat them. So when you tell somebody that you can mess up with me and yet I'll still take you back and treat you like nothing happened, what this young lady needs is to find herself, find an hobby, unlearn what it is to be with a man, I'll be in a relationship, love being by herself, enjoy our own company, be herself, know herself. That's what she needs. She needs therapy to unpack some of the reasons why she's so in desperate need of a relationship, a romantic relationship. And I know, yes, being with somebody, being in a relationship is human nation, and as a nation, it's human nature to want somebody that, but for you to be with somebody that treats you like ass and makes you feel some type of way, and you know a lot of this relationship is not going anywhere, but yet you're ready to put up with it, it has a lot of unpacking to do why you put yourself through that. You get it? So I feel like that's what she needs to do it. And if you're in that type of situation, please do it. This is why I like, okay, even though the story was so long and all that, I try like to make it through, so because one or two persons going to learn something out of this. Anyway, guys, go ahead and share your thoughts. Share this video with somebody that you want to be part of the conversation, because that's what we do here. We have banging conversation. So go on and share this video. Don't forget to give this video a thumbs up, smash the like button, because this helps YouTube to push out my content for more people to see, and that will be you supporting this channel and this girl. So go on and do that. Subscribe if you haven't, and I'll see you guys in my next video. Deuces.